Hey folks, so I just want to do a quick video actually about music. It's not all about the instruments, although I live and breathe musical instruments, string instruments. There is a greater purpose behind everything, and of course that's something we all do, which is make music. Now when I was young I was in bands and toured and tried to get record label contracts and all that stuff. And then when I started a family and all that, I got heavily into home studios and home recording, and sort of became addicted to recording all the time, all kinds of music. Recorded music became sort of my diary, my journal, and has sort of kept an interesting history of my life and development as a musician and as a person. I'm also a writer, so I am really into lyrics and spend a lot of time writing various things, poetry, fiction, theory, all kinds of stuff. What I've found is that sometimes you'll write something that's not a great poem, but it makes a great song. Or you'll sit down and purposely write lyrics with a tune or an accompaniment in mind. I work with a lot of different methods. I don't really have a set way of working. Sometimes I write lyrics first, a lot of times I write them last. Sometimes I write songs on guitar, sometimes on keyboards, sometimes just sort of a cappella. It depends. So I'm not just somebody who messes with instruments and guitars and ukuleles. I use them, I play them, I keep them, I enjoy them, and the reason why I started working on them in the first place is because I'm a musician and I wanted to work in a music environment. So I got a job in an old-time violin shop. Actually, it was a bass viol shop. Our specialty was basses, double basses, and I learned how to work on cellos, violins, violas, basses, and after that got into the guitar world with a couple of different guitar makers and manufacturers and wholesalers. So one thing led to another, but the root of it all is music, and I am a classically trained cello. Just to prove it, I'll show you my certificate from the Royal Academy of Music. I don't know if you can see that. I was a grade 7 cellist, and that's my certificate from the Royal Academy of Music when I was younger. And I'm trained on the cello. I'm a self-taught guitarist. I have no claim to any authentic guitar style. I borrow and crib all kinds of... I'm a fingerstyle player, but I'm not a purist. I'm not a jazz player. I'm not a classical player. Sort of fiddle together all sorts of ideas. And being a cellist first sort of brings me to the guitar with, perhaps, I hope, with somewhat of a unique approach. So I started making music on my own under the moniker of Lunatrick, and I've put out, I think, 11. I just put out my 11th downloadable CD on my Bandcamp page, and I put that at the end of every video just in case anybody's interested in going having a listen. I just put an album out called Ancient Juvenilia, which is a full album, about 10 songs or so, all originals. I play everything on the album. Years ago, about 2009, I started by making physical albums. I just want to show you a few here. The first album I put out was Total Submersion, which is the first Lunatrick album, and it got some radio play, and it got some good reviews. None of my stuff has been top sellers or anything, but I get people listening all over the world. I have full distribution. I sell from my website, and I also got this stuff on Amazon. So that was the first one, closely followed by my second Lunatrick album, which is Hoarfrost Sheen. A lot of moon symbolism, of course. This is sort of alt rock, dark wave, Bowie inspired, all the influences of my youth sort of coming through on these albums. And then the third CD I put out is called Prophetic Guesses. And this is probably the best in terms of musicianship. I think my guitar playing on this is tight, good leads. I think there's some really good tracks on this. I think there's good tracks on all of them. And that was the last Lunatric CD that I put out as a physical CD. I love doing them, but the thing is, it costs a lot of money to make a CD. And most people don't buy CDs anymore. And it took me a long time and a lot of pain to realize that the world's moved on. It's a streaming world now. Music is been devalued. People expect to get it for free. So it's hard to get people to pay for physical media. There's still some of us out there. I'm a member of the vinyl community on YouTube, and there's still a lot of people buying records and CDs. But your average person doesn't, particularly people our age, my age. They tend to listen to the same 10 bands. They don't support new music, and they're too busy with their lives to check out a link to a listening experience, even if you make it free for them. It's difficult. It's a difficult sell. So I went back all download on my Bandcamp page and stopped doing CDs. Before that, I had some interesting experiences. I did do a all orchestral album. This is all symphonic music, of course, done with computerized. But what I did is, I played in an orchestra when I was younger, so I did simulate the orchestra field in the panning. So, I have the strings on one side, a brass in the middle, that kind of stuff. And I've tried to emulate a full orchestral experience. That was fun. This is called Father to Father. I've done another second one since, what was it called? Circumpolar is the second one, which is just download only. I've done some interesting collaborations. Most of them are download CDs with various musicians. I started working with, let me get the right CD to show you. I started working with a British psych folk singer called Rebsy Fairholm, and really loved her first album. And her second album was sort of on hold because the musicians had disappeared, and she couldn't finish the project. So I came along and did that. I recorded all the parts for it that needed doing, a lot of guitar, some cello, backing vocals, other string instruments, all my folk instrument stuff. And we did this album called 7 Star Green, and we've done a lot of work together. And she brings an interesting dynamic to my music that wasn't there before. And I really sort of got into the older, ancient folk traditions through working with her. I did another CD called Ruins, also with her. And this was the poetry of Margaret Randall set to music. So it's sort of a spoken word with music backdrop. Fantastic poet who commissioned this work. And it was actually played at a writing festival, poetry festival, and that was kind of an interesting experience. So this was another one I did with Rebsy Fairholm. And then we decided to form a group, a little collective under a different name, which we called Alchemical Muse. And we did this album here. It's our first Alchemical Muse album. And, it's just a basic, we went to the sort of thin, economic friendly CD, so it's just a sleeve. We made these ourselves, and she did an embossed, beautifully embossed cover. And we just pressed very few of those and put them out on our website. So that was my last CD release, downscaled a little bit, getting away from the jewel boxes and the full production, and sort of getting into a more environmentally friendly media. Sort of do it yourself, where you can press less and you can sort of make to order sort of thing. So since then I've put out a bunch of downloadable CDs. They're all on my Bandcamp page. Some of them are Lunatic Trick and Friends, where I've collaborated with various musicians, all online. I did an album of ambient meditations for my sister-in-law, who died of cancer a few years ago, and I did some music for her. A lot of this stuff is free download. I couldn't take any money for it because it was a labor of love, so that one's on there for free. Sort of a ambient synthesize type music. I've done a guitar album called Salter of the Earth. I'm working on a cello album. I have probably 2 or 3 more Lunatric albums in the can that will be sort of released slowly. And of course, I'm always working on new music and new ideas. And just to give you an idea of my space, I thought I'd just show you very quickly, if you can bear with me here. I'll show you very quickly my workspace. Here is my keyboard station. I apologize for the light here. On the wall is there's my English flag, St. George, and on the wall a lot of folk instruments. There's a centaur, there's my hammered dulcimer, some cellos there, some guitars there, and here's my workstation, which is a iMac. And I have a record player and some microphones. There's another microphone over here. Sorry, shaky cam time here. These are Sterling audio mics with pop filters that work really well. I've got some outboard keyboard stuff. This is old Proteus stuff, which gives me interesting sounds. And I do a lot of work with guitars. So down here is my pedal board, and I did a video on this a while back. Of course, I've got built-in guitar effects to Logic, which is what I use now. But those are noisy, so I like using sort of pedals and pre-signal effects, if you like. It sort of cuts down the noise, and I can control the situation. Here's a cello I just set up that I'm thinking about keeping or selling. I should do a video on that actually. And these new monitors that I got a little while ago, Rocket 3s, I really like them. I had Alesis monitor 1s for a long time, and I upgraded to these. And this is my deck here. This is a Behringer, and I love this thing. It's an audio interface, but it's also a little mixer. And if you're looking for something to start doing your own recording, I really do advocate this little machine. It's an audio interface. It's stereo capability. I've got 2 phantom powered mics. Here's an open channel. My guitar channel is here. My 2 keyboard channels for the outboard gear are right here. And then, of course, it's a full interface so that you can do all of your intonal keyboard patches and synthesize stuff through the computer here. So I just wanted to do a quick video. Sorry for the camera work here, but I wanted to do a quick video just to show that it's not just all about guitars and owning guitars and setting up guitars and pedaling guitars. There is a purpose behind it, and I know it's the same for all of you, and I really do enjoy hearing about your work, what you do, your music. Those of you who work on instruments, what you're doing, what your specialities are. This is the best part of doing a YouTube channel. I really have enjoyed the feedback and learning a few things from the people that reciprocate to what I put out. So I won't go on any further. I just wanted to do something about music, to sort of ground all of this other stuff about instruments. And I'll get back to the instruments next time. See you then.